Jonathan Winters was comedy chaos through an explosion of characters and stories that existed somewhere between genius and insanity. In a modern era where comedy is often dissected for its problematic elements, Winters remains a force of nature so unpredictable that even the most sensitive algorithm couldn't categorize him. Tumble hard to get people to pose in the nude. I was looking at this. You got some the elderly will never pose. Laughter. These are Jonathan Winters' funniest jokes on Johnny Carson. The devil in my pants line. I was a kid again. I had a lot of chores. Plus the fact that I remember Sunday school, I was asked constantly. Stop thinking about it. I've always said, God is in my mind, and the devil's in my pants. He says it so calmly that the shock hits even harder, catching Carson completely off guard. In today's landscape, where we debate AI's role in creativity and the ethics of digital resurrections, watching Winters reminds us that genuine, unpredictable human chaos is something no algorithm can replicate. Mother, it's me, your son. I came home and I went down the stone road and my mother was there, and I said you had to cue her a lot, and she was in show business. She was in radio and an actress, but I'd say, Mother, it's me, and her eyes were not Vaseline at that time. And, I said, Johnny, your son, I see you. I see him. So, it was a very demonstrative family, and laughter ran to her. A lot of the minorities would run and grab each other, but, boy, when you're full Caucasian, a lot of times it's back off, Laughter. So, the reunion sounds both warm and ridiculous at the same time as he makes simple family moments feel huge. The Lionel Train Story. What was it like when you were a kid? When I was a kid, well, I was, partially electrocuted by a Lionel train. Oh, I was at fault. I'm not blaming Lionel. I'm sure some guy from Lionel is sitting up. What did he say about our train company? No, it was my fault. I had come in from a very snowy evening. I was petting the dog the wrong way to begin with, and, that's the only way you can get a dog's attention sometimes. Do that to his fur. Also do that and you'll really get his attention, right? I love to do that on a good snowy day. You see a dog, fairly stiff, and Laughter Winters talks about childhood in a way that feels real, then suddenly ridiculous, staying calm while the picture gets crazier. The San Diego Zoo story. Oh, God. Did you kill it in Africa? And I said, oh, there's no reason to go to Africa. Laughter. No. A companion of myself, got in a, I don't know, used Chevy, a little pickup, and, threw in a heavy-duty, one of those Clint Eastwood numbers, and, slipped that under the seat and, went on down to San Diego. Laughter, and, went in the zoo around 2 o'clock in the morning. Couple of six-packs for the guys, You said, and the other guy give it to me. So, laid a fast 50 on him. Went in. Laughter, he gave one look at us. The zebra, and it annoys him, and his tail automatically fell off. He starts in one place, then takes the story somewhere, much stranger, making the zoo sound more wild than the jungle. In a time when we're debating whether orcas should be released from captivity, or if we should be using AI to generate animal content, Winters' version of a zoo feels like the Wild West, completely unregulated and utterly surreal. The bird attack. Humorous, but sad. Well, it's sad, but it's good. And it was a conversation piece that got her hair into the local paper, and that's all she ever wanted out of life. And, her legs looked wooden, apparently to the birds. Oh, I see. And, they ate her legs away. Oh my God. And so I propped her up there in bed at the place, and, a good set of pillows and a good zenith, and you're in business. Oh. Jonathan takes a small story and blows it up into a full comic disaster, talking like every little detail matters. Refusing the word processor. Well, you have a word processor. No, I don't have a word. You're not smarter now. If you were a kid now, you'd have a word processor. This is all I got. And, that's all Lincoln wrote with, I don't, Laughter, I can't type. Very honestly, I can't. It's unfortunate, and with a secretary situation, it's a little frightening. The senators are being reported and things, so, I thought it's better to stick with a little hand. Did your wife suggest you should not use a secret? He treats new technology like it's a ridiculous enemy, making something small sound like a giant problem. If Jonathan were around today, you'd find him ranting about having to verify his identity on TikTok, or why his smart fridge keeps ordering the wrong brand of butter. He'd treat the metaverse like a dirty word and insist that a landline was the pinnacle of human achievement. The dog sled trip. I had 16 dogs, and I want to tell the people out there this. They were not live dogs because laughter, I'll tell you for many reasons. There are a lot of animal lovers like myself, and you whip those poor devils. You know, you're starting up there laughter in Anchorage, and you come on and swing down through Nome and then catch a can. By the time you get into Oregon, there's no snow, and these guys are laughter, man. It's depressing. 16 dogs already sounds insane. Then the whole trip becomes even more impossible, told with total confidence, making the nonsense land spot on. Impersonating Johnny Carson at 100. Really? At our age. You're 49 hours. Yes, that's true. So am I. At our age, you said once on the show before, we're in that final glide pattern. Laughter. Think if that lady was out here 105. That'll be interesting to see you doing the show at that age, Johnny. You and I, huh? Sitting here. You 105, me still in the basement. Well, it won't get down there anymore. Too far to go. Laughter, everything now is in one room. This bit's laughable because Jonathan acts like Carson is still hosting far into old age, saying everything with total confidence while the silly picture grows funnier. Johnny looks like he's watching a man make comedy out of thin air. Winters impersonates President Settlinger. Ladies and gentlemen, it's our great pleasure to talk with the only living American ex-president, Millard Settlinger. Mr. President, and I understand that you are always Mr. President, even though, of course, you are now out of office. Oh yeah, that's standard. You know, it's like a man is a colonel or a general. You know, he's always a general. Uh-huh. Does Mrs. Settlinger refer to you as the president, or does she call you Millard? She's in the basement a lot. Laughter, and, she's scotch-taped down there to an old wicker chair. Winters invents a person during his Tonight Show appearance, then talks about him like he was really building a whole character in seconds with complete conviction. It's the kind of improvisational genius that modern streaming services try to capture in hour-long specials. But Winters did it in 30 seconds wearing a borrowed jacket. Jonathan's 1980 joke-packed visit. I have something here on me. I'll get to it. Yes. It's in one of the right or left pocket. All these little surprises. Everybody out of the pool. Let the young people stay. Did you take swimming as a youngster? I had no alternative. The tough guys on the farm used to drag me through the creek. Boy, I was really bad taste. And for mile after mile and you, boy. So on the third day, of course, I learned to swim. Despite doing numerous interviews with Johnny during this year, he still shows up with dozens of jokes in his back pocket, like it was his first time there. The voice switch prank. And I'd like to talk to Mr. Winers, he said. You mean Johnny? Laughter. Let me see if I can find Rondo. So gee, you're going to see this guy at the other laughter end of the phone. So, I then shipped my way. I said, hey, Rondo, come on in. There's a phone call for you. Get on it. So I said, hello. This is Jonathan Winters. And then the guy at the other end said, who was that I was talking to? I said, I'm on the phone too. This Tonight Show clip shows how fast Jonathan could change a scene using only his voice, flipping the mood so quickly. Carson barely has time to react. The joke feels loose, but it's actually very controlled as that instantaneous switch makes the bit thrilling to watch. He's mid-sentence in one character, then becomes someone completely different without any transition or warning. The vocal transformation happens so smoothly, it takes a moment for your brain to register what just occurred. Carson's face shows genuine surprise, because Jonathan gave no signal about the incoming change. The new voice arrives with a completely different personality, attitude, regional accent, and life perspective. He maintains the new character long enough to establish it fully, then switches again without explanation or apology. The unpredictability keeps both Carson and the audience constantly off balance, never knowing what's coming next. Jonathan treats each voice like a real person, having a genuine conversation with the previous character. The technical vocal skill required to switch that cleanly gets completely hidden beneath the comedy. His ability to inhabit multiple characters simultaneously, having them argue and interrupt each other, was practically unmatched. It's an ego thing. What's your favorite? Anything in here you'd like to… well, they're all my favorite. That's an ego problem. No. Before you do that, why don't you find one, and we'll do a commercial. Okay, I'm just as interested as you are. Laughter. Your hands are cool. Yes, my hands are cool. Hold on to me. Let's do this and we'll come right back. This is the kind of joke Jonathan could land with just one sharp idea, and his book he was promoting during his Tonight Show interview. He takes a simple phrase and makes it feel bigger through tone and precise timing, creating layers from nothing. The fun comes from hearing him sound completely certain, while the thought progressively grows more absurd with each application. Carson usually laughed at these bits because Jonathan could make a throwaway line feel unforgettable through commitment alone. How much money did you make today, little man? How much money did you make today, little man? Only 15 cents. I sold an old green bottle I found buried out back of the barn. How much money did you make today, little man? Carried some groceries, 4 big bags of them, for an old woman to her car. She gave me a whole quarter. How much money did you make today, little man? I rake leaves all day long for Mr. Rogers. Took them into old dirty sheet down a Buck Creek and burned them. Both my hands are sore and full of blisters. Mr. Rogers gave me $1, silver dollar. Said he'd had it for a long time. That's Mr. Rogers cracking nuts. Laughter, the phrase, it's an ego thing, gets repeated in wildly different contexts, revealing new meanings each time he uses it. He applies it to increasingly ridiculous situations, from starting wars to choosing breakfast cereals. The comedy comes from how the excuse becomes universal justification for any behavior, no matter how destructive. He voices different characters, all using the same excuse with varying levels of self-awareness and delusion. The book promotion becomes comedy material itself rather than a simple plug, demonstrating his refusal to do anything straight. Jonathan turns the commercial obligation into an extension of his performance, never breaking character even during business. The ego theme ties to the book's actual content, creating accidental but perfect thematic synergy. Carson recognizes he's watching someone who literally cannot turn off being funny, even when trying to sell something. The Canary life bit. Cut waited up there for a while. Got into salmon and… very serious. Very serious. You ever laugh at a salmon person? Laughter, grab a treble hook into your face, boy. I'll tell you. I know you're tight with this man, but you laugh at a man that's had his hands in Canary most his life. That's another reason at you. Anyway, you've had you've wore many hats, as they say. I wore many hats. I think in society, a man has to wear many hats. That's true. I bet there's a senator tonight somewhere wearing a lot of them. Yeah. He turns a strange little idea into a full world in just a few seconds with the voice and rhythm doing most of the heavy lifting. It sounds like a real person talking, but everything is just slightly off in the funniest way, demonstrating Jonathan's genius for making nonsense feel completely real. The Canary worker character emerges fully formed with specific grievances about assembly line monotony and workplace politics. He describes the repetitive nature of canning with the bone-deep weariness of someone who's done it for 30 years. The voice carries resignation mixed with unexpected pride in the work, creating surprising emotional complexity. He discusses co-workers at the Canary like their characters in an ongoing workplace drama with feuds and alliances. The details about canning processes sound researched enough to be plausible, but get increasingly surreal. As he continues, he captures working-class exhaustion while making it absurdly funny without ever mocking the actual labor itself. The character complains about specific indignities that sound both completely plausible and utterly ridiculous simultaneously. Jonathan's genius was finding genuine humanity in every character, no matter how briefly they appeared in his comedy. The Canary worker gets hopes, dreams, frustrations, and a complete personality within a 2-minute improvisation. Carson gives him space because any interruption would destroy the delicate comic world being constructed in real time. Turkeys, life's burdens, and gratitude. By order. Yeah. And, laughter, tough old lady. Oh, blow her into a tree. Come right out with some squirrel, you know. Laughter. So, she said, you're 20 years old. What are we talking about the toys for? And I said, she said, I gave them away to the mission. I said, that's all right. You know, that's okay. The poor kids, But you should have written me, you know, those last hours in Philadelphia discharge. And I said, please, why? Why? You should have let me know. And she said the line I'll never forget. She said, well, sweetheart, how did we know that you were going to survive? Laughter. So, that's when I put her in a home early. Laughter. This joke works because Jonathan takes an odd little idea and treats it like profound philosophical wisdom, making the serious tone amplify the humor. He sounds like he's delivering a motivational seminar, but really, he's building a weird comic universe through turkey metaphors. It's one of those bits where the words are funny, but the way he says them is even better, demonstrating total commitment. Turkeys become elaborate metaphors for life's struggles through Jonathan's twisted philosophical lens that somehow sounds convincing. He discusses gratitude with the gravitas of a self-help guru. While the content stays completely absurd throughout, the turkey gets assigned deep symbolic, meaning that makes no logical sense, but sounds momentarily profound. He describes carrying life's burdens using increasingly elaborate turkey-related imagery that grows more complex with each sentence. The gratitude angle comes from unexpected places, like being thankful your turkey isn't plotting against you. He voices different perspectives on thankfulness from characters who all spectacularly miss the point in different ways. The bit becomes a mock sermon with turkeys as the central spiritual metaphor binding everything together. Carson's laughter encourages Jonathan to push the turkey philosophy even further into complete nonsense territory. The serious delivery makes every absurd comparison land harder than if he'd played it for obvious silliness. Jonathan understood that total commitment to ridiculous premises creates the biggest laughs rather than winking at the audience. Jonathan Winters proved that the funniest comedy comes from complete fearlessness, absolute commitment to absurdity, and the ability to create entire universes out of nothing while making it look effortless. In an age of curated TikTok clips and algorithmically approved punchlines, Winters remains the ultimate reminder that true comedy is chaos raw, unpredictable, and timeless. Which Jonathan Winters Tonight Show moment do you think was the funniest? Let us know in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe for more legendary Tonight Show moments.